Hey guys, Derby here. I'm finally getting around doing a video on the Nevada test and training range. It's been out for quite a while, but I just haven't found the time to do a video on it. And I'm sitting in the recently released Mirage 2000C by Raspberry as the NTTR. It's very much unfinished, and there's a lot of stuff that's work in progress, systems that don't work at all or are limited at the moment. We'll see that when I start up the aircraft. But with that being said, it's a lot of fun to fly, and I really like the fly-by-wire system. Really like what they've done with it. It takes some getting used to, but it's great, and the cockpit looks really good. Very happy. The external model is excellent. Let's have a look at it. So I've got two Magic missiles, two Super 530D missiles, which are the big ones, the semi-active radar homing missiles, and a centerline fuel tank. It's a beautiful aircraft. Alright, back in the cockpit. A few notes. I'm running two mods for the Mirage right now. The first one is MIP maps for the cockpit textures, so I don't get this flimmering on the textures. I think the HSI doesn't have map maps in this mod. Not sure. Maybe you can see it here. Not sure if it's visible on the video. The other one is a modified views.lua, which changes the default view, so you can see the heads-up display and the radar screen without having to look down. By default, the FOV is something like this, and I really don't like this, so this is much more comfortable. Alright, let's get it up. First, turn on the battery, get rid of the master caution, and then let's turn on the parking brake. You can see the corresponding light going on here. Then turning on the boost pumps, the ventilation switch to the left or right position, and we open the engine start switch cover, which also switches the starter fuel pump switch. So if we open this, it will switch the starter fuel pump, and then we can press the jet starter, which will start spooling up our engine. You can see it here. Spooling up. It should stop around 11% core RPM, and then I'll simply move the stick forward, and the engine starts spooling up. A note about the beta currently, the parking brake doesn't work with the alternators off, so I'll turn them on as well, just so the aircraft doesn't move forward. Once the engine spools up, it will spike to around 70% core RPM, which will start the aircraft moving if we don't have a parking brake on. And there we go. Okay. Now, let's turn on the hydraulic emergency pump switch here. And then we can close the cover on the jet starter, turn off the starter fuel pump, and put the ventilation selector switch back to the vent position on the left. Next up, turning on the lights in the cockpit, because it looks nice. And then we come to the first system that really is very rough, not much to it at the moment, you can't really do anything with it, which is the INS. So normally you would put this to STS to display the alignment up front here, and then turn this switch to align, but at the moment we can simply turn it to nav and the system is on, and there's not much more to it. Here we have the system on. I don't have any waypoints in this mission, so I'm not gonna really go over what's working with that and what doesn't, but it's very much unfinished, and I don't think it's worth a deeper look at this point in time. Next up, turning up on the radar screen, which tells us the radar is off at the moment. Then I'll turn on the heads-up display. There. Radar altimeter on. Should correct itself in a moment. You can see here the radar height shows minus 34 at the moment. Anyway. And then on the left side I will turn on the navigation lights, and with that we're pretty much good to go. All that's left is no speed steering and taxi lights, but as you can see, if I turn on the taxi lights, nothing. Yep, the lights aren't working yet, so let's look. But I don't think that's a huge issue, because taxi and landing lights in general are still buggy on this map. Alright, let's turn on the RWR and the countermeasure systems, and then I'll taxi out to the active runway, which is 03 left at Nellis Air Force Base. So increase throttle to over 50, over to just about 70% core RPM, 50 kilograms of fuel flow, and then we taxi out, reducing throttle to just over 40 kilograms of fuel flow. Much easier to see than the actual RPM gauge, so I'll reference this when I'm taxiing. Okay, so a few notes about the radar. We can turn it into standby. This isn't really implemented yet. This is the warm-up mode. Then we have the standby mode and the radar, and we can turn the radar on. So the radar is working, but it's not feature complete yet, which severely limits the Mirage's capabilities at this time. For example, you can't tilt the radar antenna up, down, left, right. This doesn't work. Once you've locked a target, the radar will have no problem following it around, but you can't manually look down with the radar or up, which basically makes it similar to the Mirage radar in its use, just a lot better. But I'm sure they're working on it, and we'll get radar control, proper radar control soon. The radar in itself is great, I really like it. This is the default French display, which gives you good situational awareness. I like it a lot, except for this. If I move the cursor around, you will see it follows in an arc. I'm just moving the cursor, the TDC left and right, but it follows this arc. I can't imagine this is how it works on the real Mirage, because this is a nightmare from a user standpoint. Makes it really hard picking targets. So yeah, I can't really imagine that's how it works. But I do not know. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. All I know is it's not very intuitive, and that's what you really want in a fighter. Reduce the workload for the pilot as much as possible, and this adds a layer. Alright, out on runway 03 left, turning on the lights, anti-collision lights on. Yeah, we might want to turn into Nellis Air Force Base there, 125 megahertz, and maybe select another radio channel so we don't have to listen to the tanker as he passes waypoints. And I think we're ready for takeoff. So, brakes on, increasing throttle to about 85%, brakes off, and full throttle afterburner. nose wheel steering off. This thing is really hard to keep straight on the runway. I think there is actually a bug with the nose wheels, which makes the plane drift to the right or left, but I'm not exactly sure. Okay, there we go. Airborne, gear up. And with that, let's take a look at the map. I really think this is a fantastic map. Really like it. It looks great. Incredible amount of detail in the high detail areas, like around Las Vegas itself. Just look at this. And even the lower detail areas, if you fly high, it looks great from above. If you fly out to the east here, you get to the Grand Canyon. And even though it's not officially part of the high detail area, if you fly at 20,000 feet,
passing waypoint 3 at 15,000.
It looks fantastic, and we're still on a
Shell on station at Balls 031 460 at 15,000.
yeah, and we have another tank on this frequency, so let's select another one, 250. That should get us clear. Alright, back to the map. So I'm flying out over Creech Air Force Base now, and then I'm going to turn north to intercept some MiGs, show you the weapons, the radar, and then if I don't die, I will return to base. I will probably climb to around 20 to 30,000 feet, maybe even higher. At the moment, the engine is capable of making this aircraft super cruise, which comes down to too much thrust and too little drag on the airframe. This will be corrected in the next update, if I understand this correctly. Okay, let's look at Nellis from up here. Looks amazing, even from this altitude. Obviously I'm not running everything maxed out, because my PC is a bit older. It's not a high-end PC anymore. I've got a GTX 680 in my system, a i7 920 at 4 GHz, so slowly but surely I'll have to think about upgrading again. And this map really eats your system memory. I've Task Manager up, and right now I'm sitting at 8.6 GB total usage. In multiplayer it gets even higher, and I've got a total of 12 gigs of RAM. So I would say you can do a lot with graphic settings, but this needs a powerful PC, and it really takes advantage of your system. So that's that. Also make sure you have this on an SSD. I think it's worth it. Alright, climbing past 26,000. We have Creech Air Force Base coming up in the distance there, and Indian Springs. I'm sitting around 60 FPS up here, which is great. Drops a little bit if I look at Nevada, at Las Vegas and the Strip, but I don't think that's too bad, especially since I'm running this on pretty high settings. And there's the interstate down there. We'll overfly Creech Air Force Base. And there's the stars, and you can start to see the curvature of the Earth. That's 37,000 feet. As you can see, this thing just climbs in Afterburner, so I already have my center mine fuel tank empty and accelerated up to Mach 1.7 or something. I didn't really pay much attention there. I think this down here is actually a prison complex. Not quite sure, but yeah, lots of details in this area, this part of the map. Okay, there's heading off 330-ish. Let's get rid of the centerline tank. So I select the tank. This is the tank on my armament panel. Open the selective jettison cover switch. flip the switch, and then I'll simply press my weapon release, and we can put the aircraft into the air-to-air config for the fly-by-wire system, which, by the way, is pretty neat. I can just put my total velocity vector on the 5-degree line here, and then I can let go of the stick, and it just keeps flying until the fly-by-wire system can't keep me airborne anymore. So you see the TBV dropping here, but I'm at 42,000 feet, so that's not too surprising. Let's descend a bit. Alright, radar. So I'm going to increase radar range to about 80 miles and turn the radar on. Let's also turn off all the external lights. And there we have contacts up front closing in at Mach 1.6. So, let's do an intercept. Turn off the selective jettison, close the cover, select 530s, which are my active radar homing missiles, and then with the RDO on the armament panel, you can simply lock the closest target in track while scan mode. Let's turn hot. As you can see, I'm well below afterburner settings. I'm not even at military power, but I'm cruising around at Mach 1.08-ish. It's quite something. There, lost contact. I will regain contact shortly. There we go. This radar is highly susceptible to beaming, so just be aware of that. If you have aircraft flying perpendicular to your path, you will lose lock all the time. This radar isn't great. There's 30 miles. Let's increase throttle, and I'm already in range of my missiles, as you can see, I believe. Let's turn down the radar range. Oh no, I'm not in range. At least not in effective range. I'm gonna accelerate towards Mach 2 now. As you can see, the acceleration is quite crazy at 40,000 feet. I've already got it hard blocked, I just noticed. No, I haven't. Okay. I thought so, but we're head on. And we have the second MiG just to our left. Should be somewhere around there. Don't really see it. Maybe it's below contrail altitude. Or above. I don't know. There's 10 miles. Look it up. Fox 1. This looks fantastic. This MiG is climbing hard. Won't. There we go. Splash 1. And the second contact was off to the left, I believe. So let's see if we can find this. Do we have a contrail somewhere around here? I think there's something. Yeah, there he is. Let's see if we can acquire lock. There we go. It's off to our... There we go. Right on target. Lock him up. Fox 1. Not sure if this will hit. No, it won't. I lost lock, but that doesn't really matter. Let's merge with him. He's flaring. He's defensive. Magics. Close combat modes. Lock him up. Fox 2. And Splash 2. Fantastic. At this altitude, this aircraft just handles fantastic. It is extremely stable. And thanks to the fly-by-wire, you can just throw it around. Okay, I'm cruising at 35,000 feet here. Let's go out of burner to show you what it can do. So, I do have a SA-15 around here, so I don't really want to fly into that, but I think it's over there. so I think we might be safe here. Is this? Yeah, there's Area 51, Groom Lake. So let's head out to Groom Lake, take a look at that, and I will show you what this aircraft can do at this altitude. It's a fantastic handling aircraft. Alright, there's Mach 1, and let's put it into a dive. This is full stick back. As you can see, the fly-by-wire just keeps me in control. I can just throw this around like crazy. Losing airspeed, going into burnout, but I'm in control of the aircraft no matter what. Which is absolutely fantastic. Love it. Of course, you still have to keep your energy in a dogfight, so even though it doesn't let you kill yourself easily, you still have to manage the aircraft, speed, energy, everything. Alright. Let's see, where's Groom Lake? Is this Groom Lake? That's Groom Lake. You can see the runway extension going out way into the desert. I believe Bunyap mentioned in one of his videos that it was for the Blackbirds when they were operating out of Area 51, in case they had an emergency and needed to abort the takeoff. They needed a very long runway. This isn't used anymore, and Eagle Dynamics have reflected that. As you will see when I get lower, this part of the runway has cracks in it, and you can clearly see that it's not used anymore. Really like the attention to detail here. So that's the end of the runway, and there's the disused runway extension. Tracks all that. Let's do one more flyby and then head back to Nellis Air Force Base. And again, this is maximum stick deflection. And you can see I'm losing energy very fast because obviously this is a delta wing. It's got lots of drag if you do hard turns. But as I said, above 20,000 feet this aircraft really shines compared to an F-15, at least in a dogfight. Now, here are the cracks in the runway I mentioned. Really like it. And textures at air bases are just great in general. Really happy with this map. Alright, let's return to base. I'm gonna do it at low level. We should have enough fuel. Yeah, 1,890 kilograms. Obviously, as you can see, I'm sitting at about 90% core RPM and I'm burning 80 kilograms of fuel per minute, so just for me as a European, kilograms per minute just tells me more than pounds. So another thing I like to mention is that the HSI here isn't really fully implemented yet. Of course, TACAN is working and ILS is working, and I will tune into Nellis ILS once we get closer. But the needle jump around, which I'm pretty sure isn't how the real thing works, and the distance towards the nearest TACAN beacon, or the TACAN beacon you've tuned into, is cut in half. So if you see 16 miles, it's actually 32 miles to the distance. I haven't tuned into any TACAN station yet, so it'll just show red flags if I turn this to TACAN. There, as you can see, we don't have a signal here. Alright, let's do a few more turns. This is the roll rate of the aircraft, which is impressive to say the least. Turn, as you can see, I'm bleeding speed like crazy. And now I'm down to 320 knots from, I think, above 400. Not quite sure. Dried out creeks. Probably have water in it when it's raining. If it ever rains here. I don't know. Just a beautiful map. So these trees here, they don't really hurt my performance, but if you have dense wooden areas, I will notice a significant performance hit if I'm flying low and fast. It's not as bad in helicopters, but still very much noticeable. At the moment I'm sitting comfortably at 60 FPS. Or even 1780 in some areas. Right. Okay, I'm gonna tune it, climb up to higher altitude. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna do some low-level flying in the mountains ahead of me, and then I'll do an ILS approach into Nellis, so I'll be right back. And we're back. Just entering this mountain range here. I'm not quite sure where exactly we are, but I think this is Sally Corridor to our left. Let's just get over these mountains and orient ourselves. So I'm gonna tune into Nellis TACAN, which is 12x. So there's 12x. And Nellis ILS, which is 09.1, 109.1. Jesus. There we go. And let's see, where are we? Yes, this is Sally Corridor. I'm currently flying through Sally Corridor. There is Gas Peak, Las Vegas Strip in the distance. There is Nellis Aerospace. Alright, I think I'm gonna go low again. Maybe show you some dense wooded areas. Proper forest, not those trees that were just idly standing around back there. The fact that you can super cruise with this aircraft at the moment in this beta release makes it a very fuel efficient aircraft. Of course, that will change very soon, but if you want to do some super cruising in DCS, just get in a Mirage and fly around at high altitude, you'll be able to fly Mach 1 without afterburner. Alright, here's some forested areas, and you will notice that the frame rate drops a bit. Right now I'm still above 60, but once I get low I will go down to about 30 FPS right now. Yeah, here we go. Performance is much worse around here. But as I said, as long as I stay a bit higher, it's fine. Absolutely fine. And once I'm past this, back up to 60. Or 50 in this case, but still pretty good. Alright. Turning left to intercept the glide slope. I will enter approach mode, which is this one here. And you can't really see the HUD symbology at the moment, but I will raise the seat with this switch, which I have mapped to my keyboard to make it easier to raise and lower the seat, because the approach is done with an angle of attack of 14 degrees, and you will definitely need to raise the seat for that. It's not going to be a purely ILS approach, more like an ILS assisted approach. But I just want to show you this system because I think it's probably my favorite ILS symbology so far in DCS. Really easy. You just put the when you're on glide path, you just put the velocity vector on the runway threshold and fly in. It's just that easy, and the fly-by-wire system just keeps you safe. Of course, you can turn off the fly-by-wire completely right now, which also isn't the correct behavior, as I understand. Alright, we're past the localizer now, so we need to turn back right. Let's reduce speed. As you can see, we're too high in the glide path. Now we're roughly on the glide path, as far as I can tell. There we go. Too far to the left. Well, that's okay. Okay, let's get rid of some speed. So, the picture you're looking for here is have this little box, the total velocity vector, these acceleration, deceleration markers, and these brackets, all on one level for an ILS approach. Okay, pretty much on glide path. We just have to reduce speed some more, get rid of the air brakes now, and just decelerate. There's an alpha of 11 degrees, we're looking for 14, and we're too low, so let's level out and just wait for the, and we're too slow. And there's 14 degrees AOA, and we'll just keep this, and once we intercept the glide path, we'll simply put the velocity vector on the threshold and manage everything with my throttle. Need to trim a bit, because obviously on one wing we have a missile, on the other wing we don't. So you can definitely feel that, and the fly-by-wire doesn't correct for that on its own. So, a little bit too slow here. A little bit too low. But I think we'll be on glide path soon. Okay, there's 150. Let's just keep it here. And there's the glide path, I think. Yeah, it's coming down slowly, very slowly. And we are very light, which you can see by looking at the speed. We're below 150 usually when I'm coming I'm about 150, 160, so we've burned a lot of fuel. And obviously I got rid of my centerline fuel tank and shot 3 missiles. Alright, a bit of a crosswind here, but the aircraft corrects for that itself. I don't need to use the rudder at all. Okay, bit too high here, correcting. With throttle, actually I should be correcting with the throttle. Okay, this is looking good. I like coming in a bit too fast. As you can see, I'm an alpha of 13 to 13.5. Landing is done at 14 degrees angle of attack if you're hitting it bang on. There's the radar altimeter switching to the bottom. You can set that as well, at which now you see I'm getting too slow. I need to throttle up. Okay, that was a bit sloppy. Throttle to idle. Air brakes out. And trying to keep it straight. Which is easy as long as you have the front wheel up. By the way, the fly-by-wire system just keeps my angle of attack, and I think it also taps into the throttle, because when I drop the nose you will hear the engine noise change. Did you hear that? Alright, let's lower the seat again and get rid of approach mode. There we go. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll try and do some more videos in future on this map as well as on the old Caucasus map. Happy New Year, and I hope to see you around. Goodbye.